everyone, I'm Kayla from the Alice Ferguson Foundation, and today we are going to learn how to make toilet paper roll binoculars. And then we're going to take them outside and we're going to see what kind of good observations we can make. Here's what you'll need: 2 toilet paper rolls, some string, and some scissors. And then whatever you want to use to feel creative. Paint, markers, stickers, colored pencils, anything you want. Today we're going to use construction paper and washi tape. Alright, let's get started. So first I measured out my toilet paper roll on the construction paper. Used a ruler to make it a straight line, but you could use any straight edge. Cut that, and then of course I had to do it one more time so that I had enough to cover both of the toilet paper rolls. So then I rolled those up, cut off the extra, and now I'm going to start decorating using my washi tape. My washi tape also second as a way of holding the paper on my toilet paper rolls. So now I'm just wrapping it around to keep them together, and then I'm poking little holes in the side so I can put my string on, so I have a way of carrying my binoculars around my neck. Tying can be tricky, so be patient. And there you have it. Alright, we are outside and we're going to talk about how our binoculars are going to help us make some really great observations. So sometimes when you look around at nature, it kind of just all blurs together. It's one big green blur, and that's where our binoculars come in. Our binoculars can really help us focus in, zero in to really make some good, deep observations and just look at one thing at a time. So here's a view of the forest that I'm standing in right now. It's very peaceful, it's very beautiful, but it's kind of that big green blur like I was describing earlier. I'm taking it all in, I'm seeing it all, but I'm not able to make really deep, good observations. So now let's get our binoculars out. So there's our binocular view. So it really cuts it down and makes us focus, and maybe sometimes we can see things that we may not have noticed before. So now I'm going to give you a few questions that you can ask yourself to turn those focused observations into really deep, meaningful observations. So the first question is, I notice. What do you notice about this object? These are just descriptions. I notice this object is green. I notice this object has a rough surface. We're going to practice with this prompt using this item. But before we make observations, remember to only use your senses. Look at it carefully. Smell it. See if it makes any noise. We're going to leave out taste for this one just for safety reasons, but only use your senses to make these observations. Here's some observations that I made. This item is very thin. It is mostly smooth except for these lines and ridges that are kind of running through it. It's beige, greenish in color, kind of has a little ombre thing going on, and one end has a round bulb-like thing on it, and the other end is flat. One side is smooth and the other side is a little bit jagged. The next question is, I wonder. What do you wonder? I wonder why the surface is rough. I wonder what is the purpose of this item. I wonder. Let's go back to our item and see what things we wonder about it. Here are some things that I wondered about our item. I wonder why it's so thin and light. I wonder why one end has this little bulb on it, what it could be. I wonder where it came from, what is the purpose of it, and I wonder what all these little veins are for, these little lines that run through this item. And the third question is, it reminds me of. This is where you start accessing your prior knowledge. You think about everything in your memory. What does this relate to? Where have I seen something similar to this before? Maybe it reminds you of a sea urchin. Maybe it reminds you of an item you saw when you were hiking last summer. Anything that you can relate it to in your life can help you identify what it is that you're seeing. All right, let's practice. Let's see what kind of connections you can make about this item. List some things that this item reminds you of. Here are some things it reminded me of. This item kind of reminds me of the wings of a dragonfly. It also kind of reminded me of a feather, and the way that the veins or the little lines that run through it kind of remind me of the same veins or lines that run through a leaf from a tree. Okay, time to recap our observations. One thing that I observed with this item was very light. It had one flat, wide side and one side with a round ball. I wondered what its purpose was, where it came from, and it reminded me of a dragonfly wing or a feather. So now I can make a hypothesis. I can put all of my observations together and make an educated guess on what this item is, trying to identify this item. So my hypothesis is that this item is shaped the way that it is, the same reason why a wing or a feather is shaped the way that it is, to catch the wind so that it can be distributed somewhere. Now that we have our hypothesis, the next thing to do is test it. I'm going to test it through an experiment. Since I hypothesized that this item is shaped the way that it is in order to be caught by the wind so it can be carried away, I'm going to take a bunch of these items and throw them into the wind and see what happens. Let's do it. It worked. My hypothesis was correct. The shape of these items are perfect for getting blown away in the wind. So now it's time to try and figure out where these items came from. And that question I can answer also by making more observations about where I found these items. Let's check it out. If I look down here at the ground, I can see that they're laying all around. And if I even look a little bit closer, there's a whole bundle of them that are actually attached to a stick and some leaves. So if I follow my eyes upward, I can actually see that this tree has the same leaves and these items attached to it. Through this evidence, I'm able to conclude that these items are seed pods of this tree. Being a scientist means asking questions and finding your answers. You can find answers to your question in a number of different ways. Today, we made observations to find answers to our questions. We did an experiment, and now we're going to do a little bit of research. We discovered that the item we were observing was a seed from that tree near the river, but we still didn't know what type of tree, and in order to answer that question, I had to do some research. And discovered it is a silver maple. So the item we made observations about is a silver maple seed. If you're able to make good, deep observations, you will have a superpower to answer all of your own questions just through the power of observation. So I challenge you to take your binoculars, to get outside, and use your new superpower. Bye!